Hi, I'm Carl, Party Biz Connect, and today we have Chris Brogan with us today. And I am so excited because he's the author of Trust Agents, which is one of my favorite books. And he also has a new book coming out, Google Plus for Business. Um, and the reason I like what Chris has done is it's all based around relationships. It's about getting people to trust you, getting people to know you, and letting your personality out a little bit and letting people connect with that. So thanks so much, Chris. Thanks for being with us today.
Carl, such a pleasure, and thanks.
I am a big fan of yours. I first met you at South by Southwest, and we had brief conversations here or there. So you were a rising star back then, and now you're a superstar helping companies, helping individuals. But it took you it took you time to get there. It took a while to build that foundation. Tell us a little bit about that and how you got to where you are.
It's an interesting question, and one that I was able to finally sum up very recently. Once I really was a lot more true to who I really was, it allowed me to be a lot closer to the business I intended to have and work with the kinds of people I intended to work with. We do a lot of things on our way up. We tend to take what's given to us. We tend to go where the money is. We tend to make some sacrifices. If I were to use more blunt words, sometimes we whore ourselves because we just need the money, and I think once we find a spot where we can take a breath and where we're just not we're not two mortgage payments behind, maybe we're only one. I think then is when you can say, all right, I'm doing something right here. I'm just going to keep emphasizing this. And, it's the first time I had a conversation about this, Carl. It struck me by surprise that anyone would have cared or noticed or whatever. Like, I had no idea anyone wanted to hear about the downside or the failure side or the when I was struggling side. But I had made a comment to this guy, Barry Moltz, really wonderful guy, author as well. And Barry, I said something about, I went from eating ramen noodles and not being able to pay my mortgage to having my pick of 4 or 5 star hotels when I travel. And he said, wow, that's just such a visual. And it didn't mean much to me, but I didn't realize that so many other people were struggling and were only seeing the things that I'd done well and didn't realize that there's a road here. You don't just show up and like, ding, the fairy gives you all the wishes and you're now super amazing. So, it takes a lot of work. So thanks for pointing that out. I think that's something that can't be emphasized enough.
And a part of who you are is your personality. Can you tell us a little bit about how that has helped you connect with people?
It's funny when people think that I'm very gregarious and outgoing and very, that I'm the kind of guy who is easy to jump up and be friends with everybody. I'm really not. I am shy. I do get shy in crowds. And what happens is I have 2 modes. One is I know some people here, so now I'm willing to step out a little and be myself, or I don't know anybody here, but I don't care and I'm willing to be a fool. And those are the only times where you think, wow, he seems like he's really, outgoing. And, it's tricky because I think we always think that somebody else is more outgoing than us. I know really gregarious people that I think, are sometimes self-conscious about the fact that they can't do X that this other person can do. And I think that one of the ways to get over it, one of the things I did early on was, and you're kind of doing it now in a way, you're interviewing me, I just ask other people about themselves. I've had conversations that have gone on 10, 15, 20 minutes, and the person smiles, nods, walks away, and says, that Chris Brogan was great. I didn't say a word. They just talked and talked and talked. So, there's something to that, though. Getting to know other people really helps you seem like you're, quite an interesting person.
I like that. And it comes back to your core values. It's about helping other people and then allowing them to connect with that.
That's the number one thing people ask me about success. What did you do? And I view success differently, I think, than a lot of people. Success for me is just being able to say no to the things I don't want to do anymore, and that counts. So I'm very successful because quite often I get to say no to things, except for things like laundry and housework and things like that, which I still seem to have to do. I think that the core value of being helpful, though, is the number one thing I tell people all the time. They say, how are you successful? I was helpful. And I think, Carl, that we don't give that enough credit. But that the more times you can help other people, the more times you can make some value for other people, you get taken care of. It's just hard when you're struggling, I think. When you're struggling, it's a real yucky feeling of, I don't have this right now. I can't even afford to be so gracious and grateful, and I can't be so free with my time and my money. But I've found that it's the opposite. The more you hold on, the less you get. And the more you just kind of let go and try to expect that the universe will catch you at some point, it does. And the only thing I can say to people who are scared or at the downside of this right now is it's wicked scary. That's a New Englander term, wicked, but it's very, for the rest of the country and the world, very scary. And you just have to do it. You have to let go and be willing to take that leap. And when I say that, don't take leaps with your family's finances. Don't quit your well-paying job. Let that job fund you for a while until you can get your footing. But just know that it doesn't come immediately.
Yeah. It's one of those things that really makes me think back. A lot of what you've done is helping people in a way where it's kind of moved you from one niche to the next. And so I'm a little curious of, how did you kind of settle in and find those people that you really connected with?
It's funny. People look at me and think that I've figured this all out, and I've fallen into every single thing I've ever done. I've never, for decades now, I have not once gone, I think I'm going over here next. I land on things. So the closest I can say to an answer to that, Carl, is that where I am now is people who believe in doing business, which kind of cuts out the kumbaya set a little bit, because I'm not a business person. I'm here to make money, but who do business in a sustainable, relationship-minded way, which cuts out another whole set of people, the sort of, throat choker, yellow highlighter crowd. I'm sort of in either side of that. So my biggest goal, I think, is to help people understand that you can do profitable business in a relationship-minded way. And to me, this coming year, 2012, what I'm working on a lot is to share with people how media and how your community efforts around that media will help drive better customer acquisition and in community relations as well.
Is that where you came up with the name of your business, around that core concept?
Yeah, I think that the whole concept all the way around human business works was the idea that human business is business where we care more about the human elements of it. There's a lot of people who do online business, for example, where it's just transactional. I'm just switching over to a new email service provider called Infusionsoft, and they were saying, they were trying to show us all these ways we can automate things. And there's all these ways that we can, automate this response and make this kind of reaction and set this kind of a thing cascading if somebody says B, not A. And it's all great. I mean, it's a really powerful tool. But then when we explained the nature of our business, they were like, wow, you handcraft a lot of things, don't you? Like you don't send a lot of automated messages. You might send one to many, but they're very personalized messages. And I said, yes. And they were like, that's not typical. That's what I want. I mean, I want to be atypical, and it takes longer, and it's not. I mean, everyone else wants to automate everything so they can walk away and go to the beach. I would like to go to the beach knowing that I treated everybody like humans.
I love that. It makes me think about, where I've been. I'm a one-man show, and I help people who assist me with my different Twitter parties or whatever I try to do. But it's basically just me. And it's funny, I was talking to Chris Gillibo about this, and I was saying, I say we in a lot of stuff when really it's I, and I think that matters too. When people know, hey, yeah, I'm a one-man show, but I have people that help me. They get a little bit of understanding of who you are and what you do.
Agreed. And I tend really hard. It's really funny. I mean, we're a very small business. I had some changes in that in 2011, and there's three of us right now, and my chief operating officer, Rob, is one of them. I mention Rob as often as I can because I want him to get credit for all the hard work that he does. Rob does a lot of the grown-up work, the trash taking out kind of work in a business, and I get to do the little kid jobs. The interesting thing is how many times people respond to me in emails, even if it's, to chris@chrisbrogan.com, as if there's a team of people helping me read my emails. And I keep replying back to them. it's just me. I'm the only guy in my inbox. So, they'll say strange things though, like, "Dear Chris and everybody who helps him respond." And I'm like, no, I'm just one guy. I do have, I have staff, but, to have them answer my inbox would be a little bit crazy, I think.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you probably have some certain filters going through, but yeah, in the end, they want to hear back from you to some extent.
I would hope so. I would hope that, I'd hope at the end of the day that they're feeling like they're gathering some sense of a relationship with me. And then, in doing that, it's been, it's tricky. Like the other day I sent out an offer for something and I got something like 600 emails and I processed all 600 emails, and if you think about that, if it took me 1 minute per email, that's 10 hours of work. But what's the opposite of that, Carl? Nobody responding. I love that I processed it because in every one of those 600 emails, someone took the time to respond to me. I'll take it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's that interaction. That's that engagement that really builds up that trust. Yeah. One thing that people that are listening and watching this right now, what they're trying to figure out is, I want one of those secrets that Chris has. And I know it's not a secret. It's a lot of hard work, but what is one thing you can tell someone as they're trying to build up that trust, trying to build their audience? What do you do?
So I think that, I usually use be helpful as the answer. And I think because I've already used that, Carl, I'll have to make up a new secret. My secret. All right. Be everywhere helps. When I made my biggest shifts in being who I am, and Julian Smith and I are writing a book on this right now. And we have not talked about it, as far as I know, either of us to anybody yet. So you get a scoop. This whole premise of this book is that, once you have your goals figured out, it's you need great ideas. And by great, there's a bit of a formula to that. You need a great platform so that more people can see what you have to say. And then you need the human element to kind of respond back and forth to the people who take the time to communicate with you. That's the big secret. The thing I've done better than anybody else that got me where I am is I'm everywhere. I'm online a lot. I go to as many events as I could. I was flying when I'd land, I couldn't even take $20 out of the ATM because I didn't have it. And I would do everything I could to show up at these events just so that I could possibly pick up business. And when I did that, it paid off.
Ah, I like that. Yeah, people think, well, I need to earn a certain amount of money before I feel like I can go and help this person or go to this conference and say that. But in reality, you have to be able to put yourself out there so you shake hands, you look them in the eye, and you say, hey, this is who I am and this is how I help.
Right. I mean, that we also have to shake our sense of entitlement. There's always this kind of like little issue that slips into us that we feel like we deserve something. And I would say that that's a tricky one. We have to kind of work on not deserving anything. We earn everything.
I like that too. I think a lot of that falls in my generation and the generation behind us, and Gen X, Gen Y, where parents basically hand everything instead of having you work for it.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. I would say that it rears its head in strange times. I hear people say things that sound like entitlement at very strange times, and also that they think that's how I got it. Again, like the magic fairy came and hit me on the head and said, it's your turn to be amazing. Which is the furthest thing from the truth. I scramble really hard every day. I mean, here's one, Carl. Julian Smith and I both hit the New York Times bestseller list for the book Trust Agents. That'll never come away. Like, we are forevermore New York Times bestselling authors. Every time I write a book proposal, it's a proposal. It's not, here, Chris, here's your next book. It's, I have to struggle for a space on that publisher's list. And, I keep feeling like, well, I already made the Times. Can't you just say yes to me? And the answer is no. So if I have to, you have to.
Yeah, yeah. Now, as we switch gears a little bit, I love how you get people excited about your work and what you do and how you help them. How do you do that? How do you cultivate this excitement and get people talking about what you do?
What I try to do is I try to include people. I try to say we quite often and not mean we, the company, we, us, the person and me. I try to give away as many of my secrets as I can in front of everybody. It's almost like being a magician and telling people the magic trick. because then you can do it too. And if you have that same success, if you try XYZ tip or trick that I show you and it works, and suddenly you get something from it, I feel like, woo, so I think the more times you can include your buyer, in this case, as a hero or make them successful, the better that it works for me.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. That's great. One thing that, we talked about earlier is all the hard work, but there is a lot of failures along the way. Can you describe maybe a failure that you've gone through and what you learned from it?
I think we need another whole show for that, Carl. There's a lot of failures I've had. I've started a lot of projects with this whole idea of let's see what sticks, and that was a bad model. If I had read Eric Ries's book, The Lean Startup, I would have done this a lot better. So if you're thinking of starting a business, or if you've got a business going and you want some better guidance, read the book, The Lean Startup. It'll help you a ton. I started things like Man on the Go, which was going to be a travel website where I would talk about all the places I went and review things, and it was great. And I had a lot of interest right away. Businesses were like, oh, can we send you things? Can we get you to review this? Can we pay you to be an advertiser on your spot? I was like, this is the best. And then I slowed down travel because I wasn't seeing my kids enough. Well, if I built a business around that, I would say that I maybe made a stupid mistake. So, that's one. I failed at a bunch of other things along the way. But as I wrote in my 2011 wrap-up, I don't look at failure the same way as a lot of people. I don't think of it as failure. I just think, oh, that's an experiment that didn't work, and I'll try something different. And one of my biggest changes for 2012 was refining and cutting back instead of trying everything. Now I'm going very minimalist, and it's beautiful.
That's great. Yeah, I fell in the same trap. I'm on my 8th blog right now. And you have all these grand ideas and you want to help all these people, but if you don't focus, you're not going to help anybody because you're doing the shotgun approach.
Right. And it's great, except that if you do that method, then you are hitting very smaller targets. The beauty of a shotgun is that it can hit, you could be a lot less accurate, but it's just less impactful. Once you're a sniper and you're spending the time and the effort, you hit a lot fewer targets, but you're so much more precise that it's very effective.
Yeah, yeah. And to switch it up, instead of talking about business, I like to put a little bit of happiness in there. What is one secret to your happiness?
One secret to my happiness. Untangling from everybody else's mental states, not trying to live up to other people's expectations of me, and really just trying hard to realize that other people's emotions are their emotions and that I can impact them. That's for damn sure. But more often than not, the real truth is that these people are coming from their own story, and so as best I can, if I stay untangled and I stay my own person, people either come back to me and decide that they're not as angry, or we don't see eye to eye and that doesn't work anymore. Or then the very last step is that they realize that it's something inside them and they fix that. But I don't care which of those outcomes happen, as long as I'm staying on my side of the fence on this one and just being who I am.
I like that because that helps with business too, because in the end, you can't force a sale on anyone. You can't force them to like you. It has to come from them, and it has to be something that they want to do.
Exactly so.
Yeah. Now, one of the most important things as a business owner is to really look at your career and your business and say, yes, I want to focus on this one thing. So what do you suggest for people as they're, starting out, they have an online business? What do they focus on, and where do they get that traction from?
This is a question we answer back and forth on Kitchen Table Talks a lot every week. So it's kind of funny. My co-producer, Joe Sorge, and I on that show are always asking the question, which comes first, product or customer? And it's a blend. It's what you know how to do, obviously, because it doesn't matter if yoga is a great class. If you can't teach it, then it doesn't matter that you found a bunch of yoga customers. The other side of it, I guess, is the question of, I guess it's a blend at first. You find, can you help somebody? And if so, can you help somebody replicably? And if so, can you find enough of those somebodies that you can make this a business? If no, to any of those questions, don't do that. I am amazed how many startups out of college are for people helping bands. Bands don't have any money. It's wonderful you want to help bands, but they don't have any money. Find another source. So, you know who's a huge, huge income source right now? Females, baby boomer females. Start there. You know, beyond that, I think you've got, you know, a lot of challenges ahead.
Yeah, that's great. Well, thank you so much. This has been fantastic, and I think my audience is going to love it.
Excellent.